Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl Brandy Yvonne, and of course here on my channel we do fun reviews, discussions, and recaps of some of our favorite shows. Tonight we are talking Kings of Napa, Season 1, Episode 8, titled Judas and the Black-Owned Vineyard. If you're new to my channel, please do not hesitate to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, help the algorithms. It's Women's History Month, so you still got to help your girl out. Also, comment and share. Also, I think this was the season finale, Kings of Napa, so I will say Kings of Napa did its thing. I was thoroughly pleased. Love the show. Hope they have a second season. The show's really good. It gave me Greenleaf, Queen Sugar, all that good stuff those shows gave me. Kings of Napa gave me that and even more. So let's bring Kings of Napa back for season 2 on network. Oprah, make it happen, girl. Also, before I get started, I know I said Bridgette was the one. I kept saying Bridgette was the one last week. I went in on Bridgette. I said, there's no way. It can't be Bridgette. It's Bridgette and she getting help. And I was wrong. I gotta eat crow. I was totally wrong. I was gonna start the video out with the clip apologizing, but I'm just gonna apologize right here because I don't have time to do extra stuff tonight. But I do say sorry, Bridgette. My bad, girl. Everything was looking like it was you. I'm sorry, okay? I mean, you still doing a little crazy stuff though, but you not the one that started the family. Our bad, okay? Promote Bridgette, August, promote her. And we make it up to her. Anyway, let's get into the review, y'all. So, we're gonna try to get in order, but we might get out of order because this episode was giving a lot. It was a lot of twists and turns. It took a turn I did not expect. So anyway, the episode opens up with Kelvin coming to talk to August at her office. She's like, how did you get in here? She's like, you had your ex-wife coming all up and through my house and you're defending my sister. Like, you know, you over here acting like I'm a side chick and I'm not. Like, you need to get it together. And she's like, you know, basically she's trying to break up with him. He's like, I'm not going to leave that easy. You know, I've fallen back in love with you and I'm going to do what I got to do to keep you, boo. And she's like, well, you know, I'm the full course. I'm the main meal. And you know, when you have a woman like me, you put me on a pedestal. You do what you got to do to keep me. You make it happen. And so he's like, you know, I hear you. You know, let me prove it to you. You put me on notice. And so she seems to be, you know, letting him apologize. And then they made up and he picked her up and threw her on the desk and said he been put on notice. I said, ooh, I was too, honey. Put me on notice, Kelvin. Anyway, then the next scene we see Dana, Vanessa, and Yvette, August, and Grace, the wine curator, the one who's helping to make the wine at the table. They're trying to figure out a new strategy, a new plan to beat Sean and Sean's dessert wine now that, you know, they have their recipe, so they want to revamp the one they originally created. So it's nothing like Sean and Sean's. Also, and Yvette is like, you know, we need to treat ourselves, and they're talking about the whole Bridgette thing, and Vanessa and Yvette believe Bridgette's still innocent. You know, Dana's like, nah, she's not, you know, he's not buying it. And so Yvette, you know, was like, you know, we all stressed. Why don't we treat ourselves with some foot massages and have the chef whip us up some filet mignon and all this. I said, dang, must be nice. Tell the chef to whip me up some filet mignon, y'all. So anyway, August said, you know what, why don't we do both? Well, they still got a lot of work to do. They want to move she's going to be working on the calendar so they can try to beat Sean and Sean's wine before it comes out, to work on the production calendars and all that. So they said, okay, let's do all that, you know, let's work and treat ourselves at the same time, basically. So then we see Rose came up and through, and everybody's like, oh, hey, Rose, like, welcome back, girl. And so then she's like, what's this I hear about Bridgette? You know, she would never do this. This is not her. And so Dana's like, oh, you don't know all facts. Like, I know that's your friend. You guys are close, but you don't know everything going on. Like, if Bridgette took money from this family, then she deserves to be, we love her, but she deserves to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, basically. So then Rose and Dana go outside to talk, and he's like, what happened? What's going on with you? Like, you sending these cryptic messages, and you left. Is somebody else? Are you having an affair? Please tell me. I saw you kiss Rose. I saw you kiss Bridgette. I came back to the house to get some papers for Auntie Melanie, and I saw you kissing her. Now, he lying because he saw it on the camera because he bugged the house, but he didn't want to tell her that. But anyway, he saw it nonetheless. So then she was like, no, it was just a kiss. I got confused. It's not like that. I love you. I want to work it out with you. I want to be with you. And so then they decide they're going to work it out. They kiss and hug and make up. All right. So then moving along, we see Christian and Vanessa at the hospital visiting Aunt Melanie. Aunt Melanie's still in a coma. Christian is telling Vanessa, Vanessa, they're watching TV and somebody's doing like a news story. Vanessa laughs and says, oh, that girl used to be my intern. That's so funny. And Christian like applauds the mom, Vanessa, for going off to chase her dreams and what she did. And she's like, oh, you may not have felt that way if you were, if I hadn't had you yet and I had abandoned you also with the other kids. And he was like, no, men can do it all. Like, why can't you? Like, you should get back into your journalism. And she's like, oh, I'm too old to get into journalism now. But she, appreciated what Christian was saying to her. And she asked about the girl he's been bringing to the house. And he's like, oh, I don't know. You'll meet her one day. We'll see. And all that. So then Auntie Melanie starts coughing and she wakes up. And so then Vanessa tells Christian to go get the doctor. We see Vanessa at the bedside of Auntie Melanie, and they're talking, and Melanie's like, I just want to get through this. Vanessa's like, when I saw you laying on the ground, I vowed to God, like, if we get through this, I want to move on. I want to move past everything, forgive, all that. So Melanie then goes into talking about Reggie. Vanessa's like, nah, we ain't got to do that, girl. And so then she's like, no, Reggie loved you. He really did love you. I was just like a friend to him. He really loved you. He talked about you all the time. He really did love you. He was just always scared that you were going to leave him again. And he wasn't always sure if you wanted to be with him. And he was always scared and he didn't want to admit it, but that's what he was going through. So maybe that's why he was maybe he was healing whatever he was feeling with Auntie Melanie. I don't know. Anyway, she's like, I hate the most that I've hurt you in a situation and I've hurt Bridgette. Like, all this time she knew that Reggie was her dad, and how hard could it have been for her to keep that secret? And she's innocent, we got to fix this and all that. So then, speaking of Bridgette, let's go on to Bridgette. Bridgette was in her lawyer Kelvin's office, and Kelvin is grilling her, like the lawyers do. He said, you knew that Reggie was your dad this whole time. Why didn't you say anything? And then she's like, well, what was I supposed to do? I was going to devastate the family. There was never really a good time. I didn't know how to do it. He was like, okay, what about, at this time after he died? What about at this time? You could have said it. And she's like, I don't know. I didn't know what to do. And then, he's asking her other different questions. And he's like, you know what? You're too emotional. You're not going to be able to take the stand. And she was like, no, you need to let me take the stand. I need to, get back in August and prove it to her and put her in her place. So then she said she got to go make a phone call. Okay, so then back across town at the King compound, we see Grace and Aunt Yvette and August talking, and they're trying the new wine that Grace has created, and it's better than Sean and Sean's. August said it just need a kick, but it's popping. And so Grace said, yeah, once you told me once everybody said it reminded them of Sean and Sean's, she said, I knew I had to get rid of that. No. So they got a new recipe for the dessert wine. They just need that little kick to it, and it's going to be good. Auntie Yvette said, yeah, you making them boss moves. So then August gets a call from the extortionist again, saying, you're not going to get rid of me that easy, with my $150,000 and all this. Now, mind you, it's still looking like Bridgette at this time because she stepped out of Kelvin's office and said, I'm going to put August in her place. and she went to go make a phone call at the same time. It looks like it's like the same time August gets the extortionist phone call. So then at this point episode, I'm still like, it's Bridgette. Like, y'all not gonna tell me it's not Bridgette. It's Bridgette. It's Bridgette. So anyway, then moving forward, let's get to Christian. We see Christian with his girlfriend or his boo thing. They sit and talking, and she's like, I'm sitting here supporting your bourbon, and you need a North Star. You need a North Star in the hood. I don't know what she's trying to say. Basically, like, he needs somebody like her to, like, ground him because he's living this rich, fabulous lifestyle. Somebody to really have his back and be there for him and all that. So she was like, when am I going to meet your mom? She keep pressing him about that. He's like, I don't know, my family's crazy. And she, doesn't like me bringing all these booze in the house. I don't invite, I don't introduce her to all my booze like that. And she's like, well, maybe I need to be more than your boo. Maybe be your girl. And he kissed her. And she's telling him that, she has these investors for him to meet. And she going to really help him with his bourbon business and all this. Now, mind you, to me, the girl don't look like she know any investors. And we going to get to that at the end, y'all. But she don't look like she know about nobody to me. What I said to myself when I saw it the first time. So anyway, something in my eye. So then, let's see. We get to let's get to Rose. So Rose went to go see Bridgette. And she's like, what's going on? I'm glad you're okay. And she's like, Bridget's like, oh, look who came, with the cat dragon. Like, here you come now. And you just left me and all this stuff. And she's like, I was confused. I needed space, needed time. And I'm working things out with Dana. And I'm sorry. And she's like, you know what? My family thinks that, I'm squeezing them for money. My mom is sick. Like basically Bridget's like, I needed you there for me and you weren't. And Rose is like, I'm sorry. And Bridget's like, I gotta go see my mom. Like, please move. And so we did see Rose walking through the winemaking facility, and she calling the fertility clinic saying she want to get back to working on this fertility situation, and she want to make an appointment. What she got to do? She want to get back into the process of trying to have this baby. So the nurse said, okay, well, we still need a sample of your husband's sperm. And she said, oh, he already did that. Because remember, they went down to the clinic, and he's supposed to have did that. We saw him about to do it, right? So they were like, oh, well, there was no sperm detected. We already called him and told him. And so she's like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, yeah, that's right. But she's kind of confused because she's like, wait, like, why he didn't say anything all this time? So then moving forward, we see another scene with Dana and, no, let me not even get to that. So hold on. So then, I don't want to get too much out of order, y'all. So then we see Bridgette go to the hospital to see her mom. And so she's happy to see her mom. She's like, I'm sorry I iced you out, Mom. And Melanie's like, I just want to put everything behind us. We're going to work it out. We love each other. And I know you didn't do this. I believe you. There's got to be, some other explanation for this. Like, what can we do? And so before that, though, after August had got the call from an extortionist, she spoke to August and their PI guy, and they were on the phone with the DA lawyer lady, and she was saying, gather any evidence you have, bring it to me, if we can match the call, coming from Bridgette, and you did make the drop to her, we could catch her, we could nail her. They want her to wear a wire and all this stuff. And the PI guy has all these bank statements and phone calls and these photos of cars from the cameras, and these cars could possibly be the extortionists, okay? So August takes all that to Kelvin. And she goes to Kelvin's office, and she's like, Bridget's, she's still doing it. She called at 2:00 this afternoon for more money. And he was like, well, that can't be true because she was in my office at that time, so that's not true. And so then they're kind of both looking puzzled, and he's like, oh, shoot, I remember she stepped out to make a phone call. And then he was like, okay, I got some people that could trace the phone call and figure out where it came from. And then if it came from, that area, then, we can link it to Bridgette. And if not, it may be some other possibilities. Because August is letting him know, like, I gotta wear, she wants to be honest with him going forward about the situation, even though he's representing Bridgette and she's going against Bridgette. She thinks Bridgette is the extortionist. So she's letting him know, like, hey, I'm gonna have to wear this wire. We about to take Bridgette out. This is what it is. So he's like, I feel like there's something missing. Like, let's figure out where this phone call came from and go from there. Like, and maybe we can prove to your family something else, because August don't want to be flip-flopping, because her brothers are looking at her sideways, like she might not be a good leader. And, Dana ready for her to mess up anyway. So then, she's sitting in the office with Kelvin, and she's like falling asleep and everything. And then he gets a call saying that the call came from east of Napa. And at the time, Bridgette was in San Francisco, so it couldn't have been Bridgette. And he's like, let me keep doing, figuring things out. We'll prove it to your family. Let's meet up for dinner and bring all our evidence and work it out. Okay. So then we see August goes to the dinner that she's supposed to meet up with Kelvin, right? And no, before we get to that, before she goes there, we back to the hospital. We see Bridgette at the hospital with her mom. They didn't meet up. So she's like, I believe you. We tried to meet up the way. And like, who else had a key to your place? And so she's like, because how did that stuff get in your place, basically? And she's like, the only other person that had a key was August. So, but Vanessa was there also. And then they're like, okay, we got to find that other key and figure out what's going on. So Vanessa calls August like, hey, find that spare key to Bridgette's house. Like, we need to get to the bottom of this. So August is looking through her house. She cannot find the key at all. She's like, I don't know where the key is, And so I'm like, girl, how you lose the key to that girl's house? That don't even make sense. But anyway, so then Vanessa's like, please, honey, find that key, because that's the missing piece here. So then August is like, Mama, I gotta go. I'm supposed to be meeting Kelvin. We figuring some stuff out. I'll tell you details later. She goes to that same restaurant they always go to where the white guy offers them the pie, right? So anyway, I forgot his name, y'all. So for the purpose of this video, I am going to just be calling him the white boy or the white guy. I don't mean no offense by that. I just can't remember his name right now, okay? I think it was Black. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to try. So she goes down to the restaurant. There's nobody really there. And she's like, oh yeah, let me get a Manhattan. He's like, the strong stuff. He's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting somebody. So Calvin's like, oh, I'm swamped at work. Like, let's meet at your house in like a few hours. So then she's like, oh, I may have stood up. It's okay. And then he's like, well, the restaurant is pretty dead. I sent everybody home. It's just me and you here. So like, just have some pie. At least you never leave here without having my grandma's pie. So she's like, okay, as long as you bring me some ice cream too. And so mind you, she has all the evidence and stuff with her in the pictures of the cars. And so then he's like, okay, I'm gonna go get the pie and ice cream. And she leaves the pictures there of the cars and he sees them. And so then August said she's going to go use the bathroom. So she went outside to go use the bathroom, right? And she heard some noise, I guess. This part was kind of weird. It could have been done a little better, in my opinion. So she heard some noises and she went outside. And she saw that same car she remembered seeing from the picture that the PI had brought over, right? So then she's looking for the same characteristics, the dent, the license plate, everything. So then she sees it's the white boy's car, because his little name tag or ID is in the car. She can see his picture. So then she's like taking a picture of it and she's like, oh my gosh. And so then he popped up out there and he's like, ready for your pie? And so it's real creepy. At this point it's like, oh, it's getting creepy. So then she's like, oh, you know what? I better be going, actually. Like, I'm gonna just get going. And he's like, no, stay and have some pie. I insist, and he kind of grabs her shoulders and she sits down and she's eating the pie. And she's like, oh, I really should be going. I go visit my Aunt Melanie. She just woke up from a coma. She's sick in the hospital. And he's like, no, visiting hours are over anyway. It doesn't matter. She's like, oh, my dad, I have some pull at the hospital. My dad, was a director, surgeon and all that. So then he's like, I made this pie especially for you. I was like, August, girl, put the pie down, August. Because I'm like, in my mind, he didn't poison this girl. He about to make her sleep. He didn't gave her some kind of drugs or something. I was terrified for August. So anyway, so then she's like, yeah, I better get going. And he was like, oh, you like my car, huh? And she was like, oh, yeah, And so it's just awkward because you could tell, like, he knows what she knows, and he's not going to be happy with that. So then, next thing we know, like August is, like, getting up, but you can tell she's about to do something. So she gets up and like, I don't know if she got up, she was going to get up and run away, and then he grabbed her, and then she hit him, and they get to tussling, and she almost got away, but he knocked her out. So I'm like, oh my God, oh yes. So she in a whole situation, y'all, a whole situation. So then she got knocked out. Now back over to the Vineyard. Now we can get to Rose and Dana. Rose and Dana sitting there getting their matching fades, getting their matching haircuts done, right? A guy's cutting Rose's hair and a girl's cutting Dana's hair. So they get done and he's like, oh, we looking good. We matching cut, our swag, match my swag, whatever he said. So anyway, he's like, can y'all give us a minute? So Rose is sitting there quiet, and he's like, oh, let's get some takeout. How about delivery? And she was like, I spoke to the sperm clinic, fertility doctors. And he's like, okay, cool. And she was like, yeah, the nurse said she called you about your sperm count. And he's like, oh yeah, she did. Like, she's like, why didn't you tell me? And then he was like, oh, I don't really want to have this baby. And she was like, the sperm issue was with you. Like, we can get through this. We can fix this. There's other things we could do to get your sperm count up. And, you can wear different clothes. You can change your diet. We could do all this. And then he's like, I'm not really trying to have this baby. And anyway, I can't have this baby. Basically he said he haven't had sperm for 2 years. So then she's like, what? What do you mean? What are you saying? And like, she's putting two together, and he's like, I don't want to have a baby. I don't want them to grow up with issues like me, if they end up like me. I don't want them to have to be bullied and have a hard time and all this stuff. And she's like, life is hard. We all gonna go through a hard time. She's like, are you saying you got a vasectomy? So basically, Dana Ben got a vasectomy like 2 years ago. But he never told Rose. So Rose is going through all fertility or hormone treatment for nothing, because she was never going to get pregnant anyway. Oh, I would have been pissed if I was Rose. And she was pissed. I mean, just pissed to the pistiest point of pissed, okay? Ooh, it made me mad thinking about it, y'all. I couldn't even imagine. I'm sitting up here injecting myself with all these hormones and stuff, and you didn't have a vasectomy this whole time? Not doing it. So anyway, Rose is going off, and the girl who plays Rose, I believe her name is Samantha Wallace, I want to say. Shout out to her, because she delivered them lines, honey. She was all serious and crying. Ooh, I felt that. I said, go ahead, Samantha, aka Rose. So speaking of Rose, I forgot a funny part of the episode, y'all. In the beginning, when they were getting their pedicures and stuff, August and Yvette was dang there about to have an orgasm with that when he was working her foot. She was like, oh, that's my spot. So then she was doing all that, right? And August was like, you need to call your wine bank and get our distribution deal back and stop having an orgasm over here. And then Auntie Yvette was like, are we not going to talk about all this drama up and through up in here? And then she was like, you need to be working, And Yvette's like, we can have drama and work at the same time, have work gossip. That's what make it fun and jazzy. So she was like, we're not going to pretend like Rose didn't come up and through. And she was like, I put $20 that she going to go down the road to be with Bridgette. And so I hollered at that part. That was funny. So anyway, back to the main event, though. I just wanted to bring that part up of the episode, and I don't like to forget nothing. So anyway, so Rose is going off on Dana about the whole thing, because basically she's like, you let me, take infertility drugs, inject myself with all this stuff all this time, and you knew you had a vasectomy. Like, when were you going to tell me? And so then he basically is kind of like nonchalant about it. Oh, he just pissed me off. So then she was like, I'm leaving, like, bye. And then he's like, oh, what you about to do, run off to Bridgette now? And then she was like, no, like, I'm pissed at you because you are selfish and you're only thinking about yourself and you're being pighead. Because he was like, oh, I knew you would go back running to the lady pond. And he was like, you pig. She called him a pighead and went off on him some more, like saying this is not about that. Like, all I did is a kiss. It meant nothing, but what you did is even worse. Like, you lied. We promised each other we're not supposed to be lying to each other. Like, you messed it up. So he was like, well, and basically she's kind of through with him. And he's going to say, oh, well, if you break things off of me, you're going to lose your job. My dad wrote that in his will. So she kind of like, I don't give a F about your daddy will, okay? That's not how she said it, but that's what she meant. I don't give a F about your daddy will. I'm out of here. I don't got time for you and your family. You can go on and kick rocks. Okay, she was through. And I don't blame her. I do not blame her. You better go off, Rose. You better than me. He could have his little butt tossed around that room for what he did. So anyway, back to August though, because she going through with the white boy. So the white boy got her sitting at the table tied up with her arms behind her back. Okay, and she kind of like, ooh, what's going on? And so he was like, yeah, you know, your dad. He basically, so they like went back and forth, but basically he's mad because his grandpa or father used to own the land, I guess the king's own, and Sean's land. And somehow they ended up selling it to Reggie. And they were under the impression that Reggie was just a poor, struggling black man from Oakland. They didn't know he was a surgeon. So then he felt like, oh, you bamboozled and tricked my family. I thought he was a poor, you know, struggling man. And then she was like, oh, you just assumed because he's black that he didn't have nothing. And that's on you. And he was like, yeah, and you know, your dad bought that vineyard and then he sold some to Sean. And now you guys all have empires, and what am I here left with? And she's like, okay, because you left here managing this restaurant, like, and he was like, oh, you know, you guys don't deserve this. We all own this land first, and I'm supposed to own this land now, and so he was just going off, and it sounded like he wanted to call. He's like you, and he wanted to say the N word. He wanted to call them the N word, okay. And she was like, come on, say it. What you got to say it. And then he's like, people. And I was like, oh, I knew he wanted to say the N word so bad. Oh, I knew he wanted to say it so bad. And so then, but he didn't say it, y'all. So then they going back and forth. And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, my dad worked his butt off, his blood, sweat, and tears. He earned that land rightfully so. And all the black people, you know, in Napa that own vineyards in the whole U.S. for darn there, worked on their sweat. You know, this land was built on the sweat of black people. Hello, America. Let me say it again. This land, America, was built on the sweat and tears of black people. And that's the point August was conveying. And it's very, very true. And she brought up Black Wall Street. And, there was two other references about that she brought up about how land, Central Park has land and everything has been constantly stolen from us. So they're going back and forth in this turn. I really, really love this scene, that just commentary on land and black people owning, you know, we're the ones that built it and all that. I really, really love that scene. I didn't even see the show going that way, so this episode was really, really exciting, especially that part. So they're going back and forth. Mind you, August is working on tying her wrist behind her while he's talking. So they going off and back and forth, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just destroy the thing that your dad loved the most, and you know that should have been my land. I'm gonna destroy you, basically. So, no, before he said that, August, you know, they're talking, they're going back and forth, arguing and all that. She got herself untied and knocked the table over so he could fall. So then they tussling again, and he's like, you know what? I thought extorting money from you was going to make me happy, but the only thing that's going to make me happy is to destroy the one thing that Reggie loved the most, which was you. So then he's like about to like try to harm her, and then they tussling some more. She ends up getting control of the situation, and she's got him in a chokehold, and she beating on him, and then the cops came in, and Kelvin came in. So the cops pulled her off of him, and she got one more good old kick and lick on him, and I was like, dude, don't be talking about my daddy, whatever she said. So then she was like talking to Calvin, like, dad, he could have killed me. Like, you know, she's shaking up from that. I don't blame her. I'm glad she's okay. So it turned out the white boy, his name Block or something anyway. Turns out he was the extortionist, y'all. Whole time, he was extortionist. I couldn't believe it. I said, dang it, all this time I just knew it was Bridgette. My bad, Bridgette, girl, my bad. So anyway, he was the one extorting, and it all is because of his family history, right? Very, very interesting, Kings of Napa. Very interesting twist there. I like that. So anyway, Kelvin is consoling August, and she's like, dang, I can't believe I blamed Bridgette. Like, is she gonna ever forgive me? How am I gonna win her back? And he's like, you'll think of something. So then we see at the King compound, we see Grace, Christian, Dana, Aunt Yvette, and August, and they're all talking, and they're like, okay, we need to get this dessert wine together. We need to figure out a plan. Let's get it together. So Bridgette came. And she's like, they're like, oh, we're so glad you came. And she was like, well, I'm still part of this family. Like, my dad wanted me to be here, so I'm not going to run off that easy. And they're like, okay, so I was like, okay, what's in that brilliant mind of yours? And so then Bridget's like, oh, you think I'm about to come back and help y'all that so easy? She's like, I want to be made vice president and I want a 20% raise. And so Dana's like, you ain't gonna come up and through here making demands. And so especially because Dana want to be head boss in charge. So So then she was like, well, if you can help us with this, I was like, okay, it's worth considering. Like, if you can help us with this dessert wine, then you got a deal. So everybody agrees. Okay. So then Bridgette said, well, let's use some of my hybrid grapes in the back of the vineyard. Grace said, perfect idea. And they were, it's going to really help enhance the flavor, right? And then they said it still needs to kick. Well, too bad we don't have something to ferment it. I think they used the term fermentation, ferment or bottle, whatever it is to do with the wine. So Christian said, why don't we use my bourbon? And so then they're like, oh, okay, and Dana gave him his props, like, okay, like, come through, Christian. So basically that bourbon is going to be what they put it in to give it that extra kick. I would love to taste that. The sound of that wine sounds like it's going to taste really good in real life if somebody made that. Dang, I kind of want some wine now. Anyway, side note, I wish I would have had like a glass of wine while I did these reviews. However, I try not to drink during the week for weight loss purposes and just to keep my mind clear, so it wasn't going to work, y'all. But maybe next season, we'll see. So anyway, back to the show. So they're like, okay, let's speed up the production. We got to be Sean. They tell Auntie Yvette, get on the phone with your boo thing. See if we can, get a new deal. Auntie Yvette's like, she own it. She gonna see if she can, tell him we got a thing figured out. We ain't got no more drama over here. Let's, do this distribution deal again. So they made the wine. The wine is good. They got Wine Bay over there, the distributor. I can't think of his name. And I'm guessing it's his boss that's there. So it turns out she's a black lady anyway. And so they're tasting the wine, and she's like, I only agreed to do this because your wine was said to be as good as Sean's. Excuse me. And she's like, it's even better. Like, let's do the deal. And everybody likes the wine. So Bridgette is not there in this scene. It's just Aunt Yvette, Christian, Dana, and August and Vanessa. So then August says, okay, we'll do a distribution deal with you if you agree to drop Sean and only work with us. And so the lady said, yeah, you got a deal. And so distribution babe was like, oh, thank God, because I was getting tired of that Sean's. They was getting on my nerves, especially that one Sean. He was too extra for me anyway. So then they got the deal. It's all good. So then we see Bridgette at the hospital attending to Aunt Melanie, and Bridget's telling her, yeah, they got some clinical medicine tests they can do for you if you want to give it a try. She's like, I don't want to do all that. I just want to get some herbs and get out of here. I don't blame you, Aunt Melanie. You've been through it, girl. You better stay out them Zika viruses and stuff, girl. But anyway, so then Bridgette leaves the room. She's like, I'm going to get you some tea, Mom, because Melanie was coughing and stuff. She ain't all the way healed, y'all, but she better. Thank God, right? Power of prayer for Melanie. So anyway, she sees the guy. Remember one of the guys she had met up with or talked on the phone or whatever, the white guy? She sees him out there. She's like, how did you know I was here? How did you find me? He was like, oh, your house cleaner gave it up real easy. And then she was like, okay, like, what do you want? Like, you guys were like, you got to distance yourself from me. And so he was like, no, now that everything's good and clear, like, they want to do the New York Fair with you. Like, what do you think? I forgot the name of the company, he said. And so then she was like, no, like, I'm not interested in that. And, it was a New York gallery fair. So, which meant that person was helping her with her art gallery stuff, like putting her art out. So I'm assuming she got all that money from selling her paintings. Okay, so now it's all connecting, right? So now Bridget's looking even more innocent. And I felt bad again, like, dang, I accused Bridget so tough last week.